On today's Try to Finish Something, you already know if you've watched any of my past videos, I'm a big VW bus fan, and you've seen what it took to get my VW bus where it is now, and all the stuff that I had to go through. But I did start a new job, and the guy who is in charge of the company that I work at, he's a big car guy, and he kept saying, hey, why don't you bring your bus into work? And I chose to do it last week, and the day that I brought it in, I didn't realize in the afternoon when I was going to be driving it home, it was going to be over 100 degrees in an air-cooled car. That obviously the air wasn't cool. And it's a Volkswagen bus, and it's like a 45-minute drive, maybe an hour, in a regular car. On the way home, top speed was maybe 55 miles an hour, and there are a lot of hills, and I was really stressing. And I stopped at a stop sign when I was about 15 miles from home, and went to shift. And if you've never been in a bus, the shift pattern on it is really big because it's transferring that all the way up that long stick shifter. And when I went to shift, it just flopped around and wouldn't engage with the shifting mechanism in the floor, and I couldn't get it out of first. So I started driving home at 15 miles an hour. And there's a car that's honking behind me loudly, and so I pull over and I see that it's my wife and kids. My wife had picked the kids up from school, and they wave, not knowing there's anything going on. It's this, hey, how's it going? It was us honking. And off they go, leaving me there. And I'm panicked because I don't know how I'm going to get the bus home, and I take some things apart and I can't get it fixed. And I drove the remaining 15 miles home at like 12 miles an hour. Every time I would get a line of like 12 people behind me, I would pull over and wave them on and drive the rest of the way home. And it seems like it's a fairly easy fix. But I was already a little down that week because Star Wars Celebration was going on. And as a giant nerd like me, I wish I was there. And I've been checking out all of your amazing pictures on Facebook and Instagram, and it looked like it was amazing. And the anniversary of Star Wars also just passed, and I started thinking about the build that I'm in the middle of, my BD-1 droid. And I started thinking about all of the 3D printed parts and things that I was planning on putting on this BD-1 head for my salvaged BD-1 droid. And I started thinking, that's not how they did it in the 70s. They took things that were model parts or things that didn't belong as part of the Star Wars universe, and they used those to make it Star Wars. Greeblies, that's where it was all born. And so I've decided I want to add as many real-life Greeblies to this as possible to make it look Star Wars. And that's what I want to do today. The side parts and the ears and a lot of the things that I want to work on today are going to be found parts that I want to try and make Star Wars and make a real-world item become part of Star Wars for my salvaged BD-1 droid. And that's what I'm going to do on today's Try to Finish Something. Alright, now before I get into this, I just want to thank those of you who have become Patreon members or grabbed things off of my Amazon wish list, and some of them, I'm not sure if you chose to be anonymous or Amazon just isn't very good at including your name, but a huge thanks to Shawn for this super glue. Dear God, I go through a lot of it, and these leather/material punches, there's no name included, but thank you so much for purchasing that anonymously. This grime paint, this is from Steve, and ooh, look at this, another anonymous one. This is an electric Lazy Susan so that I can film the projects at the end and show it off from all the different angles. This thing is awesome. Oh, wait, one more thing. And this, wire nuts, also from Steve. Thank you all so much for taking a look at that list and all of the support. But it doesn't even stop there. Some people just send me items to see what I will do with them. Edward sent me this old non-working Sony TV. This thing is super cool, and I've got so many ideas what I want to do with it. Like I said in the intro, making things out of real-world items and Greeblies is what my focus is today. I want to add things to my salvaged BD-1 droid, and I have an idea for this eye lens. I have this accordion
style camping lantern that I want to try and force take apart. That was almost too easy. All right. So this domed clear lens looks about the right size, and it just has 2 screws that hold it in place. Let me see if this works inside the spa jet. Oh, like it was made for it. I also really like the bright LED that the camping lantern uses, and I might use that too. So I'm going to just pull out all of the electronics, including the switch setup, because that might come in handy. Even if it's not on this project, I'll eventually use it for something else. And I'm not trying to take this apart in a pretty way either. I'm just cutting out the whole thing with wire cutters. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop in a frosted acrylic circle in there to also diffuse the light a bit, and let's see if this light will work with a coin-size battery instead of the 3 AAAs. It does. All right, now to secure the board and the lens to the inside. But first, let's work on the other side, the exposed Droid Greebly. I need some exposed electronics, like this was Frankenstein together, and my plan on this side was to use one of these pieces from my phone operator cord board. The video is up there. There were so many good pieces in there, and my plan is to use the Glowforge and make a frame that I can use the holes and mount this in place. But I've got to run off and design that first. All right, and here's my frame. Only took me 2 tries this time. It's a basic box with a notched 90-degree angle to mount the Greebly to. It's pretty simple. I'm just trying to see which direction I want to mount it in and testing to see if everything works with the mounting screws. So I like it, but it needs a backing piece that you can't see inside of the head. Maybe some old circuit board. I've got this one from the VCR I took apart, and I've got this green one from a camcorder, and it looks like it might be the perfect size, and the green will make it stand out a bit more behind this, but I think I might use part of that VCR circuit board on the other side, but we'll get to that in a minute. This board has a few things that are too raised, and I'm going to need to pull those off to make it fit in behind this, and I'm just snipping them off with flush cut nippers. Now, to mount this, I want to use the same screws that I'm using to mount the frame, and I need to find a way to mark through these holes, and a Sharpie's too thick, and I saw Adam Savage using a long, narrow Sharpie type marker to do this kind of marking. I'm going to go add that to my wish list, and I'm going through to drill out a few holes because I think I have a plan to add some light behind all of this to maybe give it some life when I'm done. I'm also using some scraps from the laser cutter to add some, spacer strips to the sides to push that board back inward a tiny bit more so that it's not pressed right up against this Greeblies. Now, to take this back apart and take this outside and give it my accent color, and I'll reassemble this later. Now, I made 2 discs that I will glue to the back of the flashlight eye, the spa jet. The first will just have a hole to keep that LED in place and keep the light concentrated to just the eye, and the second layer will hold the circuit board from that camping flashlight. Now, I just need to glue these 2 layers together and try and avoid gluing my fingers to it. Gluing my fingers to it again. I'm just going to use binder clips to keep these 2 pieces in place while it dries, and then I'm going to move on to gluing in that domed lens. And I'm now just adding in the piece of frosted acrylic, and now let's work on my Simply Juice lids. Yeah, I have a ton of these thanks to Brian of the Smuggler's Room for my newfound addiction, and I'm just cutting out the ridges on the inside of them, and with those cut out, this was stolen directly from Kelly Stern of Props and Villainy. You can actually drop in VCR playback heads, and they have a very tight pressure fit and look amazing inside these lids. And these will be the ears to my salvaged BD-1 droid. Alright, let's put together the exposed Greebly for the side using the freshly painted frame, but I also want to weather these VCR playback heads, and my plan is to do it the same way that I weathered my Mandalorian bullet charges. I will take them outside, spray paint the aluminum, and then sand and scratch off the paint so that the aluminum is exposed, but some of the paint just sticks and it looks fantastic. And this one playback head has some little brass pieces, and I don't want to put paint on those because I like them brass, so I'm just going to mask those off with tape before painting. Alright, outside I shot them with black, tan, and a dark walnut, just randomly in layers outside, and when I sand it down I will get variations of the color that I put on, and I will bring some spots all the way back to the shiny aluminum so that they look sufficiently weathered and used. And I'm just using sandpaper and some other tools to randomly scratch them up. And I painted my juice lids my accent color, and that is what they will drop into. And I'm just going to mount these to the head with a simple screw. So I just need a hole in the center, and I'm going to just screw these into the sides of the head. And I have these antennas. Now, antennas are an essential part of the look of the BD-1 droid, and these came from the old music players my old company used to make, and we used to use to play music inside of people's stores. You know, the business that I sold and then got fired from? Yeah, that's the one. Hey, thanks for the box of Greeblies that I will not be returning. My plan is to just drill holes in the side edge of the Simply Juice lid and mount the antennas, and then with the hole in the center, mount to the head itself, then slide in the playback head into the juice lid, and look at that. 2 ears and antennas. Alright, now let's mount this side Greebly. Just need to find some long enough Allen bolts since the bolt heads will actually be seen on the final droid, and I'm going to screw the frame and the inside circuit backing board into place, but I have to take this lid off first to be able to hold that nut in place while I screw it in. Good thing that I made this so that the top part could come off so that it can be accessed. Alright, assembled and just adding a bit of weathering. I think I am going to cut a piece out of this VCR circuit board. I just have to find the area that I want, and then I'm going to take it outside and I'm just going to cut it on the bandsaw. I like this part with the heat sink in this tall yellow piece. If I mount it on the inside, those could stick out from the side of the head through that hole. Alright, that works. Let's mount that in. Now, I want to find some piece of the cord board maybe that would allow me to make some sort of a heavy-duty plug thing that could stick out over there on that side. And I found this cordboard plug, and it has a mated connecting piece. It mounts to the cordboard with this metal rail, so I'm just using the rail as a pattern to cut the same holes into the side of my droid head. Yep, remember, all of this work just to hide my Alexa Dot. It might have just been quicker to, I don't know, put it under the table, but that's nowhere near nerdy enough. All right, so that is mounted, and I'm just cutting back some of the plastic coating on the wires of that mated connector and pulling wires out and connecting them to random places on the side of the head just to add to the story and the functionality. I mean, this poor droid had been abandoned and was barely functioning until I found it, and using parts from other droids, I was able to bring her back from the dead. Yep, it's another story. Now it's time to just weather everything, and I have to admit it is a bit over the top, but I really do like that it looks like the parts were never meant to work together, and that fits into my story. I want to do one more thing before I call this finished for today. I want to add some color to the iris of the eye, and I'm calling this finished for this week. Next time, I will take a break from my salvaged BD-1 droid to work on some other room builds, but I really hope you liked this Greebly-filled video and got some ideas for your own projects. And if you did, like, subscribe, and consider joining my Patreon or supporting me by grabbing something off of the Amazon wish list in the video description or pinned to the top of the comments. And if you didn't like it, as always, just keep it to yourself, and we'll see you next time as we try to finish something. Hey, it's me again. Just a quick channel update. As you're watching these glam shots with me juggling my new job, I plan on doing a video every other week, and I will throw in some podcasts in there in between as well. And as soon as I get back on track, I will get back to doing a video every single week. And a huge thanks for watching, everybody.